Hello, welcome to Team Smith UK, and thanks very much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us. So today we're going to be adding some hairpin legs to some genuine vintage Nathan furniture, mid-century modern. And if we sound a little bit echoey today, it's because we're in this room that we're partially in the middle of refurbishing, I should say, and we are giving it a 70s theme. The rest of the house has got your old Craig and Rose and Farrow and Ball paints, those chalky rich emulsions, but we're actually doing something a bit different and funky. The house itself is Victorian, Edwardian sort of crossover period, but we're going a bit funky, as I say, with this room, and we're giving it a 70s theme. But we didn't want to do it kind of a bit naff 70s. We wanted to give it some authenticity. So we've got a genuine Carl Fagerland light fitting. We've got some original Teak Nathan furniture and various other bits and pieces. So we'll be showing those on other videos on the channel. So do subscribe and hit the bell to see any new videos that we are launching on the channel. But as I say, today we're going to add some legs to our Nathan sideboard furniture. And as I say, originally we wanted something that was traditional and had that gravitas, if you like. Sometimes, you know, you can do a room in a theme, but it can look a bit chintzy and a little bit kind of theme parkish if you're not careful. So we thought what we wanted to do really was add, as I say, genuine light fittings, genuine furniture, and then the room should take care of itself from there. So to that end, we had a look and found some furniture.
Yeah, we got some on eBay, and it's actually in really good condition, isn't it? So we've pretty much set what we want to have in the room, but the sideboard furniture is quite low compared with the high ceilings in here. So we had a look at some different ideas that other people have done and saw these hairpin legs, so we thought we'd give it a go and see what it looks like.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll show you in a little while, but we've got various bookcases. We already had an existing hi-fi unit to match. And as I say, what we've got today is effectively what they used to call back in the day the low units, and they really are low units. I don't know what they are offhand, but they're probably only about 15, 18 inches high, something like that. And we were actually looking as part of finding some 70s furniture, and I think it was a specific picture that you found, wasn't it, that you liked?
Yeah, it was. It was because it's three separate pieces of furniture, but they're sort of set up in a row. With the corner unit, so it does look really cool, but as I said, the ceilings are really high in here, so just adding a little bit of height we're hoping is just going to make it look more part of the room rather than just being in it. Yeah,
so as I say, we've got the legs. We found some on Amazon. It seems really that Amazon and eBay have lots of different hairpin legs, and we just sort of plumped for the ones that we liked. Now, there is actually a 3-inch skirt, actually it's about 3.5-inch skirt on the units. So we've gone for legs that are, I think they are 6 or 8 inch.
8 inches.
So they're only giving us about a 4-inch lift on the actual units, but it means that we can see underneath them, which is going to be quite nice, I think, because we've sanded the floor as well in the room. It will give us a little bit of a view underneath and create that sense of space, so we won't lose the floor space. And as Rachel said, we've got the ceilings are over 3 meters tall, so we can easily carry that height if we just bring them up a little bit. But we didn't want to paint them. We were very specific from the get-go when we found the furniture that we wanted the original teak finished furniture. So we're not interested in painting it or anything like that. What we are going to do though is just redress the very tops of these. We've been very impressed with Gilboy's waxes, or at least their videos. Simon Gilboy does some beautiful videos on YouTube where he showcases his furniture restoration techniques and products. So we're actually also going to revarnish the tops of these. I think next year we might strip them entirely and redo them from scratch, but for the purposes of what we're doing in the next few days, we're just going to be re-waxing those using Gilboy's waxes and fine polishes. So we'll do that in a separate video. But yeah, today we want to get these legs on. It's non-destructive and totally reversible, which was important for us, because if we don't like them, there's no harm done. If we do like them, we keep them. And essentially they will screw into the very bottom underneath the skirt of the furniture, so there'll be no real evidence that they were ever there apart from some tiny little holes on the bottom out of sight. Let's see what we've got in the box. Take a look at these legs.
So we'll link the description for the legs that we bought in the description.
Something like that. So if you do like them, go and check them out, and okay, let's go and see how we get on. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what we get in the box then. So, as I say, we've got 4 of these because we've got the main double unit here, we've got the 2 sort of 90-degree corners, and we've got a small single unit as well that we want to do. So we bought 4. We actually got more legs than we need because we need 3 for each of the corner units, not 4. Right, here we go then. So, what have we got here? Okay, so we've got a box, a little bag here with some little rubber feet. That's interesting. Okay. Now the ones we saw online, I think had white, different feet than this. So that'd be interesting to see. We don't actually necessarily need them, but anyway, they're here just to protect the floor.
They've got little.
Oh, they've got them on here. Look, here we go.
On, so.
Right. So here we go. Nicely packaged. Now we went for a gold finish.
We do them in black as well, but we just preferred the gold look for what we want to get from this.
Yeah, I think the gold will look nice with the teak, and also it will go nice with the orange. You haven't seen the vibrant orange wall yet. Look out for the Valspar paint review that we did on that. Look out for that video. But yeah, also don't forget, we're not going to see, it's a bit of a shame, but we're only going to see half of these anyway, because as I say, half of this will literally be underneath the skirt of the unit. So we'll only see these little bits coming out, but it'll just give us that little bit of a detail, a bit of a shadow gap, and we'll be able to see through and underneath. So
these
there we go.
Are really nice and chunky and heavy as well, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah,
they're not made of cheese.
No, they're all right actually. The welds look pretty good, and yeah, a little bit rough where they're stamped out. You can hear that. That's just where these steel plates have been stamped out, but they've not been dressed afterwards before being finished. But
the legs themselves look nice.
But the legs themselves, they're beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look pretty flawless, to be honest. So that's all good stuff. So the plate on this is probably, what, a 2 mil plate, something like that. And there are 4 holes. So we get plenty of good attachment on each one. So that's good stuff. So basically 4 of these in a box, and I'm embarrassed to say, I can't remember, what did we say?
These are 8 inches. I think they did them in, these particular ones, they did in 6 and 4 as well, but we wanted the longer ones.
Okie dokie, good stuff. So yeah, I presume the other 2 are the same. So we'll
hope.
Yeah, we hope so. So let's just get this furniture apart here, get one upside down and start marking out. Now there is one thing that we wanted to just mention. If you're adding corner units to a long unit like this, I think you'll be mindful that the hairpin legs, I think, are slightly
splay out, don't they?
Splay out. So you've got to make sure that when they're at their maximum splay, they don't interfere with the corresponding legs of the next unit. Otherwise, you'll have a space between them. So bear that in mind when you're bear that in mind when you line them up. Okay, so we've just turned this upside down ready for marking, but a couple of nice things to notice about this furniture. It really was so beautifully made. Look at that lovely brass piano hinge and all those screws across there. Just superb. And there's these gliders. Now, like I say, we've got 5 or 6 pieces in the collection, and they've all got those lovely little gliders on there, solidly built, and also access, bottom access there for cabling, and also some nice cutouts, factory cutouts in the teak board at the back. So yeah, really nicely made, really beautiful units. I'm so glad we got these. Right, let's get these legs measured up. Just a slight hiccup at this juncture. Amazingly, and to be honest, you know, shout out to the guys that did these legs, because the screws that come with them are absolute beasts. You know, they're probably, what, number 8s, and thing is, they're over 1 inch long, about 1.25 inches long probably. They are absolute monsters, but of course, as this is a sort of prefabricated unit and it's not going into the very side end of a solid piece of wood, they're actually totally overkill. So I've just been up to the workshop, And I've got, it's this proper old school workshop. There's all sorts of screws and rivets and fastenings up there. But I did manage to find in an old drawer enough of these 3/4 inch chipboard screws, which will actually be perfect and better than these. I'll give you a better bite anyway, weirdly, through what is ultimately a veneered laminate. And it means that they won't blow out from the other side. So I think I've got just enough to get the job done. So happy days. Also, just a quick thing here on lining them up. I did wonder whether they protrude because of the kickback on them. But if we put the straight edge along, you can see because of the thickness of the boards that they're actually well within. So if you can use there we go. I'm trying to, very sexist now. That's totally misogynist of me, expecting someone to hold a step ladder, a spirit level, flat against the surface. But anyway, there we go. So you can see that there's no risk of
going to interfere with the other units. That's the
next thing. And also with the whole house being turned upside down while we're working on all sorts of projects and refurbishments, can't find a pencil anywhere. Used to be able to not be able to walk for tripping over them, but so anyway, that'll just be a Sharpie job there. And if I can't get the drill into there to drill the pilot holes, not that I need much for those tiny little chipboard screws anyway, I've got a selection of little bradawls there, so I can just get the hole started if I need to. Incidentally, with regard to these screws, before anybody shouts, oh, they're tiny compared to the ones you're supposed to use, well, you know, these are actually chipboard screws which will bite in very nicely, thank you very much, as it were. They're the perfect length to bite right into the unit without coming through the other side. And the units themselves are going to be in compression, so there's no shear forces, they're not going to get pulled out. They're bracketed, they're going to be bracketed right into the corners, and the unit's never going to be dragged across the floor. It won't be ever moved, to be honest, and if we do need to do the spring clean, they're light enough to be able to lift and move without dragging them across the floor. So these are perfectly strong enough. So anyway, let's crack on and get some in. Some very gentle pilot holes now. Hope you're digging the socks, by the way. We've only just refinished this floor and we don't want to scratch it all up now. The purpose of this is just to break through the veneer, because these will effectively self-drill into the underlying chipboard anyway. So here we go then. And I've got my extra long screwdrivers. Great for servicing carburetors, these. And they'll also be good for helping us to reach, he says. There we go. Lovely jubbly. One, and then there you go. You can hear that biting in. And these are special chipboard screws, so they've got, wherever the lens is, I can never find the lens. Come back, Mr. Lens. There we go. And the singing's free, by the way. It's copyright free, my singing. And yeah, there we go. So that's 3. Might as well excite you with the 4th one while we're here, haven't we?
Absolutely.
And there we go. So number 4, if I can do this upside down and back to front. There we go. Beautiful. There she is. That's 1 down, 3 to go on this particular unit. And then we've got the other 3 units to do. Good stuff. Okay, then here it is, a quick spoiler. What's the initial thoughts?
I love it. I think it looks so much nicer.
Yeah, good stuff.
Definitely pick the right colour legs as well.
Yeah, it just allows us to see underneath now and lift it. If you compare that to the unit that's next to it, it almost just looks like there's a cupboard on the floor, which it technically is, whereas that now makes it a bit more like it's supposed to be, like a sideboard.
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the first one done. Let's crack on and get these corner units done then. Okay, so we've got to the corner unit now, and of course what we need to do with these is make sure that everything is basically equidistant. This back corner, of course, 90 degrees, no problem there. But for the other two, where we've got this kind of swoop across being a quadrant, just basically equidistant as they were, so lining them straight through so that they go directly out to the corner like so. I think as long as everything's symmetrical, that's absolutely fine, repeatable for both sides and repeatable for both units. So there we go then, just get these screwed in and we'll have a final reveal. It's amazing really that of all the screws we needed 56 and we have 56, so absolutely perfect. That's worked out just a treat. Right, let's get these on. So there it is then, there's the new legs on those units. As I say, apologies if it's a bit reverby today. We are in a fairly empty room, we're still furnishing it at the moment. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Hope you found that interesting and indeed enjoyable. We've got loads of stuff, not just in this room but elsewhere as well. But speaking of this room, we are going to review the belt sander that we use for the floor and indeed the varnish, the paints that we've used, the fire paint place polish and all sorts of stuff. So do stay tuned, we're going to be reviewing all kinds of stuff and just having a bit of fun really. And yeah, I think that these things just look fabulous now.
Yeah,
and
really pleased.
We've also done, we've got a single unit as well, which we've done as well, so that'll act as like a lamp table or something like that. So what's the verdict?
Yeah, really pleased actually. It's exactly the result that I thought and I wanted. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I think it just gives it a lot of height without actually it being really high. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it looks before, although they were designed to be on the floor, before they were a little bit too low, whereas now they actually look like, sort of, dare I say, real pieces of furniture. They look like purpose-made sideboards now. Yeah. And also we can see the floor, the newly sanded floor, travelling underneath, which again just gives it a sense of extra space and light and dimension. So yeah, we're really pleased with it. We've done some token dressing just for the video, but tomorrow we'll actually be repolishing the tops of these units. So join us in our next video and we'll be testing the Gilboys rose gold furniture polish for these mid-century modern teak furniture pieces. So anyway, enough sort of rambling on. Thanks ever so much. The link to the legs will be in the description. Yeah. Anything else to add?
Well, just one thing to note is that we're probably going to need to secure all three pieces together because the end pieces tip forward a little bit when you open the door, don't
Oh,
they?
that's the point, yeah.
Centre of gravity. So yeah, we're probably going to have to secure them all together so that when we open the doors, they don't fly forward.
Basically, the centre of gravity is a little bit near to the centre of the unit. It sounds like an obvious thing, but centre of gravity and centre of mass are not necessarily the same thing. And when they're on the floor, of course, there's nowhere for the unit to go. But the triangular corner units only being on tripods, and although tripods inherently are more stable, because of the curved nature, there's a tendency for the centre of gravity on those particular units to be slightly too forward than I would like. And as Rachel said, yeah, our plan I think is to get, as we're keeping these three pieces as a permanent fixture in the house, we're going to actually get some cabinet fixings and drill through just to make sure that if we load them with various bottles of something tasty or delicious that they don't tip forward, just to be just on the safe side. But that's all. So as I said, thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next one. All the best for now. Bye bye.